Hi Sam, let's take a look and see what you've written here. Not moving, but going abroad with your family for business. Let's see what you said. It is debatable whether employees or business owners should take their family with them to a foreign country when they're on a journey for business purposes. In my opinion, the drawbacks of doing so outweigh the benefits. This essay will analyze both sides using examples from the Business Magazine and Oxford University to demonstrate points and prove arguments. All right, lovely so far. One of the major considerations is logistic arrangements that pertain to family members traveling overseas without the to here. For example, the spouses and children may have to take leave from work or school. It may also be a time-consuming task to plan for the daily life activities or sightseeing programs during their stay. All of these events may distract people from work, which render... Get rid of the ed here because look, it's may distract, so it should be which render in the present tense. The business trip pointless. Consistent with this line of thinking is that the costs, such as the expenses for lodging and air tickets, could be considerable, and in many cases it may not be reimbursed by the companies. The viewpoints were echoed by a survey conducted by the Business Magazine, which shows that 80% of the professionals agree. 80% of professionals, get rid of the, agree that family as companions on business trips could be a burden in terms of time and financial cost. Therefore, it is possible to state beyond doubt that the largest disadvantage for such arrangements is the waste of valuable time and money. Okay, I want to kind of think through this with you. I want to read it. Basically, what I want to do is I just want to understand your ideas and your sentences. I'm going to put them in my own words, okay? Since we looked at the grammar, I'm just trying to see your ideas. I'm trying to see the linking between ideas. So let's see what you said, okay? So you said that there are logistics to be considered, okay? And then you tell us what those logistics are. You say they have to take leave from work or school. All right. So what I was missing here is, okay, so how is that a problem? Okay. You want to tell us that therefore schoolwork may suffer, or therefore one's spouse's career might suffer. So you should have gone a step further. Then you said it could be time-consuming task. Okay. Yeah, and then you said, so it wasn't these events. Which events? The sightseeing? So this wasn't really entirely clear to me. Maybe you need to say it a little differently. You might have wanted to say instead here, also, the family may have expectations and a desire to go sightseeing around the locale, around the location. This may distract the employee from work, which renders the business trip pointless. So I think that would have made a little more sense just making those little changes there, okay? And then, it's not really consistent with this line of thinking. I mean, I like this expression, but I don't really think that what happens next is consistent, really. It's a totally different line of thinking. So now you're telling us that the costs for expenses might be considerable. And then you said that, okay, and then you said that the magazine said that other people thought that these were expensive in terms of time and money. All right, and so that's fine. Okay, so this was good in a lot of ways, but you could see that I kind of struggled a little bit with the way you organize it. I thought you kind of went back and, I don't know, I mean, it wasn't a very linear organization. I mean, it worked after I kind of thought it through, but you can see that I had to actually read it a second time to make sure that things were supported. You didn't support everything. I mean, it felt to me that you had a lot of ideas. Like, to be honest with you, you could have left this out because it was an extra idea. I mean, you already had like 2 or 3 ideas in this paragraph anyway, and you never actually supported this one. So you really could have just left this out entirely, and it still would have been a well-developed paragraph. Because what I'm suggesting is that if you're going to keep this, you had to go further into detail. All right, so perhaps you could have taken it out, and then you could have just had these ideas that it's time-consuming and it costs money. And then that also goes here with your little statistic. Okay? So let's move on. On the other hand, some may be in favor of the idea, citing that people may easily feel lonely and bored without the support from, careful with your spelling, family. In some worst cases, the businessmen who travel on their own may even get in trouble for misbehaving, like drinking a lot of alcohol to get rid of the sense of loneliness and boredom. This is to some extent true, but the problem could be resolved through the use of communication technologies such as Skype and Zoom. For example, a recent empirical research by, we don't say a research, we just say research, or recent empirical research by Oxford University demonstrated that chatting with one's _s spouse and children 20 minutes a day via web conferencing equipment could develop or strengthen, EN, the emotional relationship with each other and motivate the staff overseas without the in to think positively, even if they have to work on their own in an unfamiliar environment. One word. Hence, it is abundantly clear that separation by a long distance could be partially, if not wholly, solved with the support from modern communication equipment. Okay, so here you're saying what other people are saying, but then you're saying, yeah, but this isn't really true because we have Skype and Zoom. 20 minutes a day helps the relationship. Therefore, you're fine. Now, let's see how that works here. The drawbacks of doing so. Okay, so from the argument examples given, I firmly believe that although taking family abroad, careful with your spelling again, during a business could have some merits, it would be more practical not to do so in view of the considerable cost. Not only the cost, in view of the considerable issues involved. Okay, it's not just cost. It is predicted that more people will attend business meetings overseas with families staying in their home country. Okay, so this was fine. You can see that I did have to do some work to understand and make sure that you had proper coherence. It was primarily an issue of coherence here, making sure that your ideas progressed well, and cohesion, I guess. So to make sure that your ideas progressed well and logically, and that you covered everything you should have covered. You did, I mean, with some little areas where it wasn't so fully covered, but I thought that on the whole it was good. There were some little things in terms of spelling. There are a few areas, little grammatical things, so be careful with those too. Okay? Let's take a look here at the restaurant letter. Dear ABC Restaurant Manager, you wouldn't have to do this, by the way, regarding this. You would just write dear whatever, because there's an instruction on the page when you get it that just says dear so-and-so. Just start your letter dear ... And you don't have to write anything else, okay? So, many foodies said your restaurant has excellent food and a reputation for good services. However, this is not my experience on blah, blah, okay, on 15th of May. I made reservations 2 weeks in advance for dinner for 8 as my family was celebrating the 40th anniversary of my parents. All right, I'm not really a fan of this. This is not how we start a formal letter, okay? You should have started with the reason for your writing. This is why we always start a formal letter. Dear Restaurant Manager, I am writing regarding the disappointing experience I had at your restaurant on the 15th of May. Okay? And then I made a reservation, etc., etc., etc. When we arrived at the restaurant, our table was not ready, and we had to wait for 45 minutes in your small lobby. There were not enough chairs for all of us, and some of us had to stand. We were not even offered a drink or a glass of water. When we were finally seated, the food, which I had ordered in advance, Okay, the food was not ready. We waited another 45 minutes for the food and only received enough for 5 people. We ordered a special cake in advance, but it was not prepared. Okay, here you should have had another, like a 2, but it too was not prepared. We tried to make the best of the situation by ordering more food and dessert. After all of that, we were presented with an $888 bill, which I have paid. I believe I am owed a refund for the disastrous celebration of my parents' wedding anniversary. You can ask the waiter Tom about the food service and the receptionist David about our time in the lobby. I can be reached at this or this if you have any questions. I hope to receive a favorable reply soon. Okay, and then you had yours faithfully. So you want your money back. Fact, polite, outline, firmness. I thought you could have been a little more firm. I think that you could have talked a little bit more about getting your money back. I mean, it was just one little sentence about this. I think you could have said more. You know, just say something like here, for example, everyone was very disappointed. It really soured the mood of our celebration. You know, a memorable experience was dampened by this disastrous service that we received. So something, I think you could have gone a little bit more into that, as well as here. I thought you should have said, due to this egregious behavior on the part of your staff, I am owed a refund. And also you could have just said, you know, please contact me at the email and phone number to discuss details for this payment. Okay, so you could have just gone through a little more detail about this. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, so good, but like I said, list of enclosures, dinner bill, credit card receipt. Okay. Here too, I felt like your tone was a little informal. You can ask the waiter, Tom. I mean, this is not like a conversation in a restaurant. It's an actual formal letter. So I think you could have been a little more formal here. Where else? Let's see. Also, some of your details, I felt like the grammar was, I wanted to see a little more advanced grammar, basically. So look at this. We waited here. We ordered a cake. We tried to make the best. So there's really not much variation here. There's not much variety happening at all. So I think you could have done a little bit more with that as well. Even here, look, we were not offered a drink. So there's a lot of this, we did this, we did this, we did this. You needed to vary it up a little bit because it gets very repetitive. All right? These are some of the things that I want you to look at. Keep them in mind. Try to correct them. Do we have another set of essays? I believe we do. So let's see if you can apply some of these suggestions in your next set. Okay, I'll be waiting for it. So good luck writing your next set of essays.